If you're able to define who your personas are, then you know what their needs are, and you can align your website and digital strategy, with each of those personas. Now, for most businesses, you're probably looking at, 2 to 4 personas. Companies House is, it's a big beast, so there's a lot of people there, different types that we need to cater for. But Rosine, or Michelle from Rosine, she had this kind of put up outside her office in a frame with all the different types of personas. And I think Companies House had done the same thing. So they are constantly thinking about who they're trying to target. So that's a key part of like your initial phase of developing your audience. I can't go back on that. And then what we're trying to build is this funnel. So a lot of businesses are very good at targeting people down here. So if you've got a widget, you sell a widget and they can sell it down at this position. But once you're at this bottom of the funnel scenario, it's quite expensive to get people here, because there's a lot of competition trying to also get these eyeballs and get people to buy at this kind of key moment. So what I'd like to try and talk about today is actually building this funnel much higher up at awareness and interest level. So, if you're selling gin, it's like, well, what are the top 10 Welsh gins? I mean, if it's anything like coffee, people search for Welsh coffee. So that is a brand, but there's also, a lot of interest in Welsh coffee brands. It's probably the same for gin. So having this awareness funnel and, building your trust at this very top layer. So if you're trying to sell people, edtech subscriptions, or, I think it was it like a battery solution? So off-grid, solutions. There's going to be problems that people are going to have in their respective markets that they need to solve. So a lot of people come to market asking questions, why does this happen? How do I cater for this? So, I'm very much interested in the kind of off-grid situation at the moment. And when I'm looking at the market, a lot of people are asking if their existing solar systems work in power cuts when they don't. It can't work in that scenario because of the risk to people like working on the electricity lines. So that's kind of a misconception. So there's a lot of questions, and if you can answer those questions, then you build trust at this level, and you become the answer to those questions. And hopefully when they're ready to buy, you're the answer to that situation. So if I'll just take you back in here. So this is a bit of an example content strategy that we've built. So we tend to do quite a lot of these where, companies want an idea of how they can go after their market. So if we had Vaseline as a client and they wanted to market their lip balm product, this is the kind of scenario that would play out. So market research. So what kind of search terms are people actually using to not only look for the Vaseline brand itself, but product specific? So we can see, lip balm, people are searching for like ingredients. How do they make a homemade one? How much does it cost? What are the reviews like? Can I get it in a tube or tin? Or, there's different types of search. So what we need to do is take this insight and we align it to this funnel. So if we look at our content strategy like this, why do my lips dry out? So at this stage, brand is not in the mix. So let's imagine nobody's heard of Vaseline, or you're a challenger brand to Vaseline. So you're coming into the market, and if you can answer this question succinctly with expertise, authority, and trust, the solution to this is you're going to buy some Vaseline lip balm or a challenger brand, whatever that might be. So, at the very top awareness stage, this is where you build awareness of your brand, and able to answer this question. When we get a bit further down, you could do some stuff around like mistletoe and whatever else like that. Think about ski holidays, top 10 things you need to go on a ski holiday. Lip balm is one of those things. So you need to think about your brand well ahead of somebody going, yeah, I need some I need some of whatever I sell. What's that journey look like to get there in the end? If somebody wants to go off grid, they just don't rock up one day and go, I want to go off grid. There's a journey that they take to get to that point. Maybe they, how do I avoid power cuts? Maybe they've got some critical infrastructure that they need to, keep online all the time. I mean, I got a fish tank here, so they can probably survive for like 3 hours without power. So yeah, there's going to be problems that people want to solve. So you need to try and answer those. So let's jump back in here. Content. Okay, so how do we kind of find out this information, what people are actually searching for? So I'm assuming, yeah, we've all got websites. So there's a tool called SEMrush, whether any of you have heard of that or used that. So SEMrush is a third-party kind of competitor market insights tool. So I think you can get a 30-day trial of it, or 30-day trial. Go in and have a look. You can put pretty much any domain on the internet in there. So you can put your own domain in if you want to, but I'll come back to why you don't need to do that. So if you're doing competitor research, you can find out what kind of search terms drive traffic to competitors. And if you know what's driving traffic to competitors, then, you can qualify and disqualify some of those search terms. It's like, yeah, we want to go after this audience. They're also ranking for this and getting traffic on it, but we're not necessarily interested in that side of the audience. So there's a lot of insight that we can get from this tool. I'll give you a quick demo of that. Let's get out of there. So it looks like this. So I've put in thriver.co. We can see authority score. Think of this a bit like reputation in the eyes of the search engine. Higher the better. Anything over like 40, it's pretty hard to get. It's out of 100. We can see how much paid search traffic they get and how much they're spending and what they're bidding on. So that's super valuable. And then we can see their traffic trends. So this is Thriver, probably started in like May, June 2016, and their traffic is a bit all over the shop. Bear in mind it's third party, so you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. But the blue line is Google organic traffic. The orange line is paid search. So they were much more aggressive in paid search in July 2020. This is COVID time. So a lot of people looking for their products then. It's declined since then. So you get some pretty good market insight. And then the key thing is what actual search terms drive traffic at their website. So their highest traffic driver, we're going to filters on in the UK, test for health, 21-day progesterone test, vitamin and mineral test. We can see also the intent. So, if somebody puts in an additional word like test, it changes the intent of this keyword. Yeah, so we can also see how much money people are willing to pay to bid against that in organic search. So it's like a super valuable tool to get insight on competitors. As I say, I think it's about 100 quid a month if you want a subscription to this, but it's for some companies a bit of a one-hit wonder, and then you get the insight out and you don't really need it beyond that, depending on the style of business you've got. So that's one source of data, very high value. The other source is Google Search Console. So if you haven't got access to this, everybody can get access to Google Search Console. It is a treasure trove of insight about your business in the eyes of Google Search. So only you can see this data. So I don't know whether we've got any surfers in the room, but I run this website called gowerlive.co.uk. So we've got some live surf webcams on the beaches around Gower, so the surfers can check out what's going on. So Google Search Console shows you all of the kind of keywords that drive traffic at your website, whether you rank well or not. So the ones that you don't rank well for, you can look at how you develop those strategies to rank better. Yeah. So if you do want to go after Welsh gin as an example and you're ranking 50th, it's like, right, what's our strategy to actually go after that search term? Because we can see we're ranking poorly, but that audience is of ultra high value to us. So this, if you go to Google Search Console, add property, I'd highly recommend doing this method of verification, because you get access to like the whole view that Google has about your domain name. So yeah, we can see, I mean, it's only shown 1,000 keywords here, but if I filter this by, say, Tide, we're going to get another 1,000 that have got the word Tide in there. So I can see lots of insight around specific topics. So yeah, definitely, if you take anything away from today, it's like get access to Search Console, because it's so valuable in terms of like building a profile and understanding what Google thinks. So cool. So SEMrush, when we're looking at our audiences and we're trying to work out, who do we go after, it's useful to see how competitors rank, because one, it gives us a bit more confidence if they're in growth phase. We can see here the Royal Canin pet food. Probably since COVID, the interest in puppies has declined, and generally pets, I think. So there was this huge spike, from March 2020. But we can see that these guys were actually growing before that. So yes, there is some SEMrush changes here, but their exposure in the market and how much traffic they're getting, well ahead of COVID, they're growing a lot. So what Royal Canin did was look at their audience, build out their personas, and go, right, well, we sell puppy food, so we've got, that's our widget that we're selling, but they needed to build trust much higher in the funnel, so that when somebody, they are the natural choice, they're the recognized brand. So they've gone on a huge like content offensive, and they've produced pretty much every article under the sun about, first week with a puppy. So what's your puppy checklist? So they own that topic, and any kind of conditions with your dog, cat, whatever it might be, they're pretty much going to come up at least top 10 for most things related. So they're building this kind of trust at the top level, saying to their customers, look, we know what we're talking about. You can trust us to feed your dog or your cat, or, whatever other pet foods they sell. So they're the answer to, this kind of awareness, top of the funnel. They're aligning their brand with trust signals, if you like. Any questions on that side of it? Or does that kind of make sense? So we're trying to basically align our website offering with the journey that our users take through their marketing funnel. Any questions, ping them in the chat or come off mute if you want to. So, and you can see their growth. So we were pretty much flatlining, and we are, we're definitely in growth mode, well ahead of COVID. And I could show you probably another 5 brands that they've taken the kind of content approach, and they're winning. So here's kind of 4 websites which have looked at their offering in terms of their content strategy. They've looked at their audiences. They are looking at their personas, and they've made changes to that persona, or they've made changes to their websites based on their personas. And these 3 have seen significant growth in their audience. This one, pretty flatline. We see this quite often, flatlining organic search. So what you'll find is that, they've got the widget, they can sell the widget really well. They haven't got the top of the funnel strategy. So they're not pulling in these people who are much further up. They're only pulling them in like when they're ready to buy. And it's very expensive. And this market it may grow, but it's not there's way more people out there basically. So these guys, well ahead of building their website, they did market research, they looked at what competitors are doing, they looked at kind of the weaknesses of their competitors, and they built all of that insight into their new site. So from day one, they're in the market. And what I mean by that is we often see startups where they think they're in the market and they think they are aligned with what their customers want. So they normally get a huge chunk of money, if you like, depending if you're a funded startup or not. Build this website based on what they think their audience is looking for. 12 months down the line, website looks like this. And then they come to do market research and competitor analysis, and it's like, well, actually, you're not in the market. You think you're in the market for the right kind of keywords that customers are using, but you're not. And it's just a missed opportunity. So the quicker you get this understanding of your customers, the better that you can build that into the website. These guys, this was a website called better.org.uk. So they run a lot of the council websites. So pretty much flatline, a bit of growth. They re-platformed and they did a lot of market research, understood their customers. I think this is like £250,000 a month additional revenue from Google search. So it's a significant change just by building in audience understanding on that one. Cool. So I'll give you a quick demo of how, if I was going to go into the market and I wanted to build a Ford Fiesta review website, bear with me, then I can show you in 2 minutes how we do that from a search perspective. So let's say we wanted to go, we're building a new website. This is the competitor, right? So this is Car Buyer. We're going to go to SEMrush. We're going to grab a load of keywords that contain Ford Fiesta. Yeah. So each of these, I've stripped it out, but it could say, Ford Fiesta sat nav. Yeah. So all of these different keywords have got that. And in total, we've got 460,000 searches a month around Ford Fiesta. Okay. So I'm going to take all of these search terms. So we've got a couple of thousand, I think, 2,102. I'm going to drop them into a tool called Tag Crowd. Yeah. And I'm going to visualize it. Okay. So it gives me this tag crowd of keywords that people use to search for Ford Focus. So thinking about this commercially, right? So if we come to our next slide here, okay, I'll jump back to the next one. But what we're interested in is the commercial terms inside this tag crowd. So what deals have we got? What engine sizes? What models? Dimensions? Review? Price? Interior? Insurance? Specs? All those would be kind of keywords that people would search for if they are in the market to buy a Ford Fiesta. Problems? Probably not. Yeah, or could be. Depends if you want to address that on your website. Used, we're not interested in that because we're trying to sell new ones. Finance, that's actually a good one. Should have highlighted that one. Okay, so if I've got that information, I can then look at how I build that into my website. So it's not an accident that the way this site is structured has pages of content targeting all of those high value commercial terms. So if we look at reliability and safety, okay, so this is their page talking about that information. And somewhere in here, you're going to see, problems could be it. Insurance, we've got interior. Yeah. So if we go back here, we've got interior and comfort. Okay. So if I search for Ford Fiesta reliability in Google search, let's pick this one. Ford Fiesta reliability. Okay, so their website is here. So Ford Fiesta hatchback reliability and safety car buyer. This is a very generic search term. So, and what that means is that when people in audiences are searching for, their new Ford Fiesta, it's like, well, how reliable is it? And these guys are the answer. Yeah. So if we go, I had something I was going to say then, can't remember. Yeah, so what you can do that kind of research. So although we've only done it for a Ford Fiesta in that instance, if you do that over 5 or 6 different cars, you can basically cover the whole market, and build your website around that insight. It's going to read Rose's email for content creation. If you're early stage and focus on product development, basically wearing all the hats and having time to invest in content. Okay, what low-cost, easy ways are there to make content aligned to SEO? Ooh, I'll come back to that one in a second. It's tricky. That's digital PR is probably the quickest way. It may, when we talk low cost, you can have a one-hit wonder article that may talk about, what's the best kind of ed tech subscription solutions on the market, and that gets picked up by all the press, and then everyone backlinks to that article because it's super interesting, because you're demonstrating your expertise, authority, and trust to the market. And what that does is build this authority score. So this authority score is key in terms of your ability to rank in search engines. Google has no real concept of that because this is a third-party tool. But the more people you can get linking back to your site, the more likely you are to rank for the SEO terms that your site is optimized for. So it's like you've got content strategy. It's very difficult to get a return, an understanding of the return on the investment in content. But ultimately, if it increases this score, then you can attribute that to kind of your digital strategy, SEO content approach. Yeah, it's tricky. There's a low cost. The biggest tip I can give you really is making sure that the website is optimized to start with, because this site, for example, this was optimized from day one. So the search engine, even if you don't rank particularly well, it was aligned to what the audience wanted from day one. So Google put it into that market. So it was in the market. And the only way that was going to go was up. So as that brand built its trust, it was aligned to how people search for the products that they sell, and it was there. So it was able to answer the question people are searching for, even if it didn't rank particularly well to start with. But you can see its growth. SEO is a slow burn. There's no way around that really. That's why it's important to get in there from day one. So hopefully that answered the question, but I'll touch on that in a second. So commercially, this is why we need to think about this top of the funnel position, because it's very expensive to acquire them down here. So it's much cheaper, much bigger audience. You need to build trust and bring them down that funnel. I'll skip that one. We don't really need to jump in on that. We've got to speak the same language. So, and this is why kind of competitor and market research is a key part of this, because if you're a consultant and you have trained for 5 years to do lip augmentation, you don't want to cheapen your knowledge by using, consumer terms like lip filler. So what they tend to do is all of their websites talk about lip augmentation, consultant, Nobody's searching for it, so they want lip fillers. And there's 40,500 people a month in the market that also want lip fillers. So you can see here, you've got the competition. So the number of people bidding on it is high versus nobody really bidding here, because it's consumers just don't search like that. So it's super important to know how people search for what you do. And that's where you're going to get some very good insight out of Search Console and tools like SEMrush. This was a watch website that we looked at. So the editor was like, no, nobody uses the SKU to search for the watches, but 20% of all of their branded search had the SKU in there. So, he'd been a watch expert for forever, but it's people search differently. It's like walking into Pandora, that silver jewelry shop, and asking for the silver necklace. I mean, there's like 10,000 to choose from. So again, it's like that intent. We need to understand how they search. Might not be relevant to you guys, this one, but the search box that's on your website is incredibly valuable at giving you insight into what your customers are looking for. So think about, when we go to Amazon, we search, straight in the search box. It says Naissance. People search for castor oil, and then, Builder's Warehouse. It is the most underinvested piece of technology on most websites. And that is people telling you what they expect to find on the site. So if they're searching for stuff and you haven't got it and it's relevant to what you do, it's either new product development opportunities, or it's managing the expectations of that audience that you don't actually do what they're searching for. So, but either way, it's super valuable. So this is e-commerce. So those people that search, they're at least twice as likely to buy. And, for these guys, it's 5 or 6 times. And they have a touch point on up to 70% of revenue. So yeah, so if you're in Shopify, I think the gin site Shopify, have a look at Search and Eyes, because that's it's like $20 a month, but it'll pay for itself instantaneously. So yeah, this is kind of the difference between having it open and closed. So something as subtle as that, which you may not think has any real impact, 20% more usage, we know that people are twice as likely to buy. So if we get more people to search, we're just going to sell more stuff, is the crux of it. So when we're looking at audience development, you need to have Google Analytics set up or some measurement solution. So Google Analytics GA4 is the most common route for doing that. And this will show you where your traffic's coming from. It's not 100% accurate. It's probably 80 to 90% accurate, but you're getting a pretty high sample of the audience that's coming to the website. So even if you don't, you're not interested in what Google Analytics, it's just not your thing, try and get that set up, because when somebody who, is charged with kind of increasing your digital strategy or, increasing traffic flow, they're going to want to look at that. It's this is a key source of information, So this is their email campaigns, organic search, cost per click. So this is Google advertising. They're all sending revenue back to the business. So, understanding each of those channels and how you can maximize it is important. So again, even if you're not interested in Google Analytics, get it set up as soon as you can, and it can run in the background and collect this data. So when you do actually come to look at it, you've got historical data that you can tap into. So bit of SEO consideration. Let's look at what we're doing for time. So SEO for me is cherry on the top. Yeah. So my background is SEO. I don't like using that word anymore because it has connotations of like a quick fix scenario, or it's come in silver bullet territory. The thing with SEO is that the foundations have to be slick and good. And SEO, if you sit your cherry on the top of the cake and everything else underneath it is correct, you've got the right ingredients in there, it's going to have an impact. But if you can't just slap a cherry on a cake that's not well made, because it's going to have very little impact. So there's a lot of stuff in terms of like layering, performance, market insight, understanding the customers. You get all that stuff right underneath. The natural output is SEO. So some companies don't even have an SEO strategy. They just focus on the customers, and by default, your SEO is generally pretty good. Yes, it probably needs a couple of tweaks, but if you think exclusively about the customer, you won't go far wrong from an SEO point of view. So I'll give you a little test. So the website is obviously important, but we need to take a step back from that and look at the website out of context. So think about iMessage, WhatsApp, Google search results, Facebook, LinkedIn. What does the website look like in those channels? So I'm gonna flash someone on the screen. I want you to tell me, well, you know, say it if you want, what that website actually does as a service to its customers. Okay, so that's probably how long you've got to convey your message to your customers, right, in the search results, because there's 10 other people vying for eyeballs. So you've got to stand out instantly. So another quick look. All right, so that's what they do. It's their social media monitoring service, okay? But all our eyes are trained on this title tag. So for each page that exists on your website, you need to check what it looks like in the context of search engines, because that just doesn't stand out. Yeah. Whereas if we changed it to Turtle social media monitoring services, does what it says in the tin. And if you multiply that by 20 service types, or, you know, whatever you do as a business, that will have a pretty fundamental impact. So when I talk about, you know, dropping the cherry on the cake, this is the kind of SEO optimization that's kind of key. So yeah, making sure, just go back to your website, Google it, have a look what it ranks for, you know, what it looks like in Google search. And, you know, if it doesn't do what it says on the tin, you know, consumers just don't get it. B2B, it's the same thing. You know, the audience just doesn't understand that. Core vitals. So again, get into Google Search Console. It will give you actual user data on what the experience of your website was like in the eyes of your audience. Yeah, so you can see here, this site is, you know, pretty much greenlit. We've got a few URLs that need improvement. We've got 7 poor URLs on mobile. So yeah, there's a little bit of work to be done here, but very few websites I come across are greenlit. You know, Shopify is good for many, many reasons. It's not particularly fast, but, you know, it's actually a minor point with Shopify that it's not fast, because the whole checkout experience is phenomenal. So it brings us on to speed. I'm conscious of time, so we're nearly there. So is it fast? Yeah. So if you have a fast site, you can get people through the checkout, the lead flow, the contact form, whatever action you want them to take. Make sure it's fast. That's my, you know, probably my second biggest tip behind getting access to Search Console, is make sure it's fast. So 100 milliseconds, right, which is what the improvement was here. Okay, so this is a Google Deloitte report. They improved each stage of the checkout by 100 milliseconds. Okay, so you can see here, by improving it by 100 milliseconds, moved 9% more people to add to basket. Okay, that's pretty fundamental. Interestingly, the homepage was the opposite, but we'll ignore that bit for the moment. So, you know, what is 100 milliseconds? So there's 100 milliseconds difference in these hitting the deck, right? So that's all we're talking about. And for Amazon, that's costing them 1% of profit. So if they slow down their infrastructure by 100 milliseconds, that's 1% of profit. Google loses 20% of their traffic in search if they drop it by half a second. And the BBC lose 10% of users for every additional second their site took to load. It's like insane. Most websites I deal with are seconds too slow, never mind 1 second or milliseconds. Yeah, so speed is pretty critical. So this is kind of touching on, you know, web design. We're very focused on colors and all that jazz, but, very few people actually come to your homepage. If you're a very strong brand, that's fine. You've already done your kind of marketing effort, but you need to think about each page is a fishing hook and it's baited with content, and you're trying to hook people in on, multitude of different search phrases and keywords. So think about the experience that people get for each service type. So we can see here, I've searched for bunk beds, 5-year guarantee, 7,000 5-star FIFA reviews, made in Britain, help and advice. Yeah, so there's a lot of subconscious expertise, authority, and trust that they're conveying to me on their webpage. Yeah, so I keep using that phrase EAT, expertise, authority, and trust. Anything you do online, you have to convey those three things, because it will help convert people and build trust in your brand. And these guys do it particularly well. I always use this as an example. It's not my client, but they do it very well. Very B2C focused, but they're a brand which is a challenger brand. So typically people go to Argos, Dreams, but Happy Beds, didn't exist until probably 4 or 5 years ago. They've gone down the kind of organic search strategy route and focused on customer service, et cetera, and it's, they're winning. So that's kind of, we touched on that bit. So 95% of their traffic that arrives at their website is not using Happy Beds as a brand search term. So that'll be something like bunk beds, kids bunk beds. Yeah, so 20,000 search terms driving traffic at their website. Yeah, so they've got all of these fishing hooks, hooking people back. Yeah. Google Analytics. So Google Analytics GA4, you have to have that kind of insight set up, because there's just a customer understanding in there. And then Google Optimize, you can do experiments on them. So you can show one audience homepage looks like this, another audience looks like that, and you can see which one performs the best. You've got to have some pretty significant traffic to do that. And if you are a relatively new brand to the market, you're like, well, not sure how much money I want to spend on kind of Google Ads or Facebook or whatever else. Tools like SEMrush can show you how much money competitors spend and on what keywords they spend it. So you can be more confident to go into that market. So we can see here, John Lewis have been spending money in paid search since forever. So if you know that, then the chances are they're making money from it. So you can be a bit more confident to dive back in there. Think with Google. This is like one of my key resources. So this is it's like market insight from Google, and definitely sign up to that, because irrespective of what market you're in, there'll be stuff in there that's relevant to you. So that's probably my closing tip is sign up to that one. So if you're in the B2C space, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas coming up. So there's a few little tips you can do to think about that. So check out the Google Retail Playbook. That's one of my Bibles. And if you're into lead gen, so the other B2B people are on the webinar, check out the Google Lead Gen Playbook. So that is both of those are best practice guides for your respective audiences about, it's basically a tick list of do this, do this, do this, do this. And, you won't go far wrong, basically. So the end. So any questions?
Thank you, Lee. That was brilliant. Thank you ever so much. Any questions from anyone?
Could be related to the webinar or not. It's up to you. So my background, as I say, is it's SEO, used to be a Drupal developer, domain seller, buyer seller.
Yeah.
Hi, Lee. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We're trying to rank higher on Google for Welshgen specifically. So I was just wondering if you had any advice on what we should focus on specifically for that.
Okay, so I mean, this is your brand at the moment. Okay, so is it this one? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, so if you, in front of your domain, if you put site : and then your domain name in there like this, okay, this is each page on your website and how it appears in the search engine. Okay, so if I search for Welsh gin, so we've got it written. So you got 500 pages of content, give or take, by the looks of it. That's quite a lot, actually. I haven't fully dug into the brand, but that's a lot. That's a lot of pages. So the word Welsh gin appears in your top 100 pages 5 times. Okay, so you've got it here. But you might want to tweak this. I'm only going to tweak this on my machine, so I'm not actually editing your Google search results here. On desktop, there we go. So you could, and you need to make a business call on this, but you could tweak it to say gin. So it could be like, Welsh gin distillery. It's sometimes it's as simple as that. I think at the moment there isn't, you haven't got. Let's see what we got. So the word Welsh gin doesn't appear in. I don't think the website is optimized for that. Put it that way.
Okay, so is it kind of focus on the content specifically?
Yeah, start talking about Welsh gin. The history of it. How, where you've come from. It could be as simple as doing that.
Okay.
Welsh gin distillery, West Wales. Because the search engine, it knows. It's kind of, again, it's put you in the market now. So if somebody searches for Welsh gin, Google can't help but factor you into that search result because you've got it in your page title. So there's that's that would be my probably first tweak that I'd make there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other ones?
Any other comments? We've just lost Rose, so
okay,
that's good.
So think with with this one again, think about, so if somebody is coming in here, it's like, think about expertise, authority, and trust. So it's a pretty cool site, but if you put yourself in the shoes of a consumer that's never heard of you before, they're going to want to know who you are, where you've come from, are you reputable? There's this trust exercise that you need to do, or subconsciously get them to think about. And that's based on Google rater guidelines. So if you check this document out, so this is an official Google document. Research the reputation. Okay, so Google employs like 10,000 people to sanity check their search results, and it's not kind of a direct impact on the search results, but you can pretty much guarantee it's going to be fed back in some way. So this document is basically explaining what you need to do as a brand to kind of impress your users, basically. Use reputation research to find out what real users as well as experts think about your website. So this, and put yourself in the shoes of the search engine algorithm doing the same. Look for reviews, references, recommendations by experts. So if you've won any awards, get those like above the fold. So up here, so it says award winning, but what is that? What awards have you won? Because if you got in the footer, so quite a few brands put their awards down here. Very, very few people get to the bottom of a website. So you want to get those like front and center, and show it off.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Okay. Connor, any questions or anything?
None specific at the moment, to be fair. I think, you just gave us a bit more of an insight on how we could be processing a lot of this.
Yeah, it's, I mean, we could, if I put you in SEMrush, depends.
Yeah, one thing we'd like to get probably better knowledge on is kind of what our competitors are doing out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot more that we should and could be doing, but there's just been certain priorities for the business, really.
Yeah, you know, you can see you're ranking very well for like 1 kilowatt lithium ion battery.
Yeah.
You know, so that's very good. So, you know, consequently, you want to check out, and you may not do it, but 2 kilowatts, 3 kilowatts.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, interesting. Okay.
What about kind of like going about searching the type of audience that are kind of searching those key terms?
Yeah. So if you give me a competitor.
Victron, EcoFlow.
Flow. Okay, I think I've seen these on there. Yeah, I've been looking at these actually. Well, my mum has. So if we do ecoflow.com, so we do a compare domains. I mean, it's probably going to be so domain authority wise, so they're doing a lot. I mean, that is a pretty recognized brand. You know, I've come across that one. So they are naturally going to rank they're going to rank better because they've got a better authority score. Yeah. And then you can get demographic data. Where are we? Yeah, you can basically see the demographics of that website and what they're. Let's see if it does it. We'd have to dig in a bit. Traffic analytics. Yeah, big social presence. You know, get a lot of referral traffic. So you can see a lot of YouTube. Yeah, Amazon, obviously, that's where I've seen them. Yeah, so yeah, we don't have that one, but I think, I mean, $200 is worth it if you want to dig into that, you know?
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Cheers.
But okay.
Okay, superb. Thank you. I'm just going to stop the recording.